Good evening, and welcome to the Watchman's Warning.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Free and independent, and trusting in the Lord our God, Yahweh. Not trusting in a man, not trusting in any government official. Only in God will I trust. He alone is all we need. He alone is all we need judgment by. No man warreth it against, entangleth himself. No man that warreth entangled himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. Are you a soldier of the cross 24/7? Are you a soldier of the cross just in man's eyes? Are you wanting to please man? Oh yeah, I voted this week. Voted for who? Does it matter? I stand with Yahweh's kingdom, who said my kingdom is not of this world. Are you voting for his kingdom? Are you deleting, blocking your friends and family because they won't vote for Trump or Hump or whatever their name is? Because I could care less if you're Republican or Democrat. Neither does God care. Blood will not be on my hands. I have to say it. Blood will not be on my hands. I will not vote for the lesser of two evils. JFK was a conspiracy theorist? Was he a conspiracy? Oh, Miss Patty, you're a conspiracy theorist. I guess JFK was too. I guess I'll be killed if I'm lucky enough, just like he was. Because he said that officials were not voted into office. They knew they picked the wrong man when they picked him, when them words came out his mouth. What do you think they got rid of him so quickly? They got rid of him because they knew he would not obey their rules and regulations. And that's why the gospel says that brother shall betray brother to death, father the son, children shall rise up against their parents, they shall cause them to be put to death, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endures to the end shall be saved. Are you going to endure to the end? Are you going to endure to the end? I'm going to endure to the end. I have no fear. I fear not them that can hurt my body. I fear not them. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, nothing hid that shall not be made known. The Lord told us what he tells us in the darkness, when we're with him, to speak it in the light. And what we hear in the ear, this preaching from the housetops, and to fear not him which kill the body, but are able, but not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. And we coming at you tonight. Jennifer, Jason, and Patricia are coming at you tonight with truth of the judgment of God which is in the land. Canada, America, wherever you are, it is in the land. And we have an awesome video that we're going to be playing for you of an awesome preacher that's going to preach and wake you up, I hope. Because it's time to wake up tonight. Welcome, brother and sister.
Hey, sister.
Hello, hello.
Oh, I'll tell you. Remember we were saying that I was telling you I wasn't feeling up to this and I didn't know what I was going to say? Well, the Lord done it again. And this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Help us,
Every
Lord.
time, right?
That's right. It's about him.
Every time.
It's not about a man. And I am getting sick of people blocking, deleting, unfriending, yelling, mocking, ridiculing, because we choose to stand on God's side 100%. Do you really think it matters, guys, who we voted?
But isn't Trump God's side though?
Oh no, he's
Yeah,
the
right.
Messiah according to the Jewish nation. He's the Messiah that's
Oh
coming.
yeah. And he's going to save America.
Yeah, he's going to make America great again. No.
I mean, have you seen these fools? And I use the term correctly. These fools.
Great ahead.
That-
Then for who?
Yeah, these fools that sit there and they go, but the Bible talks about him.
Huh.
You know the Bible
Yeah.
talks about Donald Trump?
I wasn't
It says
aware of
it
that.
talks about it in the book of Revelation. It talks about the Trump of God.
You know something? When he was running for office, you know what I heard?
No,
You know what I heard?
No, I-
the
I-
Trump will
I-
sound.
yeah,
He's going to help
and
usher it in.
these are people that will actually say, you know, the Trump of God. See, it talks about Donald Trump. See, Trump of God, and meanwhile, let's be honest. These are the same people that will take that verse from the King James, but will put down the King James version.
Exactly.
And the reason why they take it from that version is because it's the only version where it doesn't say trumpet, it says trump. Which a trumpet is the instrument, trump is the sound that instrument makes.
That's right. And that's why the Lord spoke to me to now vote for him back then. And he told me, the trump will sound. Watch. That's what he told me. It's going to happen. It's going to happen very, very soon. Not Trump, Donald Trump. The Trump of God is sounding. He is warning his people. Let me read something really quick, bro. Diana Aria, I love you, and Pastor, I love you both. What has Trump done for America? This is what she posted. I love it. He signed the omnibus bill that allotted $500 million to Planned Murderhood for 2020. He repaired a few pieces of the wall that keep no one out and lied about Mexico paying for it. He appointed a sodomite to one of the most powerful positions in his administration. He started a global LGBT XYZ, whatever you want to call it, task force to force all nations to embrace the sin of sodomy as it were a race. Recently, he appointed his sodomite ambassador to the National Security Director and signed on and fully agreed to uphold the Noahide law, which allows for beheading of those that worship Jesus Christ. So, should I go on, she said? Anyone who becomes a candidate for president has already been chosen by the wicked elite to do their will. You are voting for wickedness no matter who you choose, and God will judge you for standing with wickedness and not abstaining from unfruitful works of darkness. You've been warned. Wake up and do your homework. That was Diana Aria. Go ahead, guys. I'll shut up a little bit.
Wow.
Right?
And we have Trump worshippers in Canada too. We're not even American.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
We have brothers and sisters who will freak on us saying that Trump is pro-life and Trump is pro-worker and Trump is...
Bringing prayer back in school, and he's doing this, and he's doing that.
And those
he's
are
doing...
Canadians.
Yeah.
Wow.
You see, here, let's do a little historical lesson. We've been getting into some history with events that we're going to talk about here shortly, I'm sure. Events unfolding here in Canada, as well as and this all affects the States as well. For the first time, things that Canada is doing for the first time in a long time is actually going to affect the United States as well. But going back, the colonies, which we now know as the United States and Canada, the colonies were a free colony, and they were under sovereign law, sovereign rule. But it was 3,000 miles away,
Or something.
and all over in England. But then what happened was the King of
The
England.
settlers actually got along very, very well with
Very
the
well
indigenous
with the-
people.
with the
They married
indigenous.
them and
Yeah.
traded with them and
and then the King of England decided he wanted to impose a ridiculous tax, like just a ridiculous amount of tax upon the colonies, and that's where the War of Independence comes in. Okay, and through all of that, America, and I'm using quotes on this, gained their independence.
Wow.
But
Wow.
what was originally started as a free colony, same with Australia. The Americas was places that people went to either as the pilgrims pilgrims did when running away from persecution, or they were sent here as a punishment for whatever supposed crime that they had committed.
Most Puritans, and I was reading this, one wonderful thing about Winkie Pratney is he always says, look at church history. And when I looked at church history, the Puritans that came to America and Canada, they were fleeing from King James I and VI. They were fleeing from John Calvin. They were fleeing from the bishops and the priests and stuff because they didn't want to be part of the Church of England.
And they didn't want to be part of the Catholic Church.
And they didn't want to be part of the Catholic Church. They didn't want all the idolistic stuff. They wanted just them and the Bible and to worship God in spirit and truth. So they were either threatened with death and ran away to the colonies, or they were shipped here to go and live with the savages.
As the Indians or the Native Americans, whatever you want to call them. And by the way, that Indian, some find it offensive, some are okay with it. It's all hit or miss on that. But the problem is that the natives actually opened arms. Quite a few tribes opened arms to the white man. What they call them, settlers.
Yeah, they called them settlers. See, indigenous people do not call settlers colonists. When they're saying we're tired of the colonial life that you've given us, they're actually talking to the elite, the British Empire, the French Empire, American Empire, Canadian Empire. They're talking to the leadership of these empires, whereas settlers are just the people that came and they lived on the land and they traded with the indigenous people and married amongst the people and whatnot. And then the indigenous actually they started like to worship, like, because there were real missionaries that came to them and they gave them the gospel and they started to worship the God who they called, like, some people called them the Great Spirit, some people call them Creator. So like Paul said when he said, you have an unknown God. I'm here to proclaim that unknown God to you. So the real missionaries, they told the indigenous people, well, you call him Great Spirit or you call him the Creator, because every indigenous tribe believes in a creation story and a flood story. And so they said, I'm going to proclaim who he is to you. And they had prophecies in their life. There was an Inuit prophet in the 1800s that said, late 1700s, that told his people that the Great Spirit, he called them, told me that there are going to be people coming with boats and they're going to have pale skin and they're going to give you the words of life. So
wow.
They knew, so they accepted it. It's just that when the elite came, they brought the Jesuits, right? Because French Catholic, the English were Anglican. They brought the priests, and they came and they just started. So, I mean. So what ended up happening is, you guys know all about the War of Independence, and the colonies won and they gained their independence and so on and so forth. There was also the War of 1812, and the War of 1812, basically, to sum it up, is America tried to invade Canada.
Wow. Go ahead.
And, come on. And what happened there is the Canadian militia joined forces with the
Métis militia.
The Métis militia, and there were native tribes involved on both sides. And when all was said and done, no land was lost. by Canada. No land was lost or gained by America, but they came to an agreement and an understanding that, you know what, we can live in peace. And they had previously promised land to the indigenous people, and both sides reneged on it. Both sides said,
Wow.
forget it. We're not going to let you have the land. Thanks for living and fighting and dying for our cause.
They did that with the slaves too. The British told the black slaves in America, you come and fight on my side and we will give you your freedom.
And that's what it
And
comes down to.
only actually the American colonies actually willingly, when they were fighting the British, actually did let the slaves go.
So what we see is we know that history is doomed to repeat itself for those who refuse to learn from it.
Yes.
So it says, have you read the book Animal Farm?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about animals that this is for the benefit of anybody listening. It's about animals. They end up taking over the farm, and then they end up living as the humans. And at a certain point, you couldn't tell the difference between the animals and the humans.
How about that?
Okay, and now this is actually based off of the French Revolutionary War.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
French Revolutionary War.
The French Revolutionary War. And what happened in the French Revolutionary War is the peasants had enough of the nobles, and they actually had a rebellion where they slaughtered all the nobles. And then they needed somebody to lead, so people moved into the palace and into the noble homes and stuff like that, and they became the nobles. Okay, so we see America fighting for its independence.
That's because the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right, and then becoming what they were fighting against, and this is where we're at now. America nobly fought for a freedom, and then willingly gave it up. It's no different than Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden willingly giving up.
And
what
that's
God
exactly
had
what
given.
happened. It's going to happen again. It's happening
Yeah.
again. People are
That's why
filing
I say
people. They're not
American
filing the
Canada.
Lord.
Yeah.
America and Canada have Stockholm syndrome. I think that America and Canada are connected, and they're connected in people, because a lot of Americans decided they wanted to be part of the British sovereignty and went back to British sovereignty and went up to Canada, and a lot of Canadians said, I want nothing to do with this, and went to America. But also a connection is the British in the 1700s, when they were fighting the American colonies, they actually came in and kicked the French people, or Acadians, out of the country, out of Nova Scotia, and sent them all over the world. And a lot of our French Canadians ended up in Louisiana. That's where we get our Cajuns from.
Yep.
Or your guys' Cajuns from.
I didn't know that
So
one.
we're all very connected.
Yeah. So basically, what we see going on is no different than Hitler. And I'm not comparing Trump to Hitler. Don't get me wrong on
Yeah,
that.
you better
But
say that, because people will twist that one and run with it. Go ahead, bro.
there's
I'm
enough
not sure
there's
about
enough
Jason
idiots
Kenney.
that are already saying that. Don't need to add me.
Yeah, exactly.
But Hitler made promises, and what a lot of people don't realize is that, I've had people say, "Oh, well, Hitler was a Christian." Okay, and I said, "Well,
Yeah,
why?
the Pope is
Why-
a Jew.
Why do you say that?" Oh, because he talked about God. Well, good for him.
So to
And
say,
it takes a whole lot more than that to be a Christian.
I don't want to play that video that I've played once before, unfortunately, when he was angry because somebody was coming against him, and he said he used the GD on there.
I remember that video.
Yeah.
But he's a Christian. I didn't say GD before I got saved. I feared God enough. He ain't no Christian.
Can't say that.
He's
So-
sent from
so
Satan
we have-
himself. like everyone
That's
that's
right.
in there. Every one of the presidents, vice presidents, governors, everyone. And if they're not, they'll be killed or removed by the elite.
So, and so what we have going on is we've got the Pope at the time. I don't know which one, but the Pope at the time actually met with Adolf Hitler. Okay, and there is speculation that he blessed what Hitler was doing.
Which wouldn't be surprising. It's
And
Vatican.
Hitler also met with the top Muslims, as well as the Catholic Church. Okay,
Very interesting.
this was all Catholic Church, Adolf Hitler, the Al Qaeda or whatever, Taliban. I don't know what they were called at the time, but the top Muslims. They all met together. They all have three things in common. All three have one thing in common. They all hate the Jews.
But why
So-
are they for Zionism? That's another topic right there. How about that? Because
Well,
Zionism isn't a real Jew is not a Zionist, okay? A real Jew hates Zionism. The real Jews just in New York last year, I think it was, they did a walkout. They were arrested. They were put in jail because they came against Zionism. A real Jew. The ones that are going to come to Messiah, that are going to realize that Messiah has come and is returning, those are the real Jews,
Yep.
not the Zionists. And that was Pope Pius the 12th. I found him. Hitler's Pope.
Pope Pius?
Yeah, right? Pope
He
Pius
wasn't really
12th.
very pious, really.
He's called
Um,
Hitler's Pope.
Right. So what we got going on there is Hitler enlisted the help of the religious. He reached using religion. He created his own Jesus, this white Jesus that you see all over the place. That is Hitler's Jesus.
Yeah.
That beautiful picture with the
the
brown
brown
eyes,
hair,
yeah,
and blue
yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
that was actually told by Hitler to the painter did it because that's what Hitler said he described, and he took away the idea, which is why a lot of people call him that because they picture that Jesus as the white man God,
Right.
and they forget that Jesus was Jewish when he came to Earth. But
So
this is
so we see that he enlisted the help of the religious leaders of his day, leaders, and that's multiple religions. But at the same time, he also spoke concerning evolution. Okay, so Adolf Hitler was talking about evolution. He was talking about religion. Okay, and he really did help the German economy.
Oh, people were massively rich in Germany.
I mean, Adolf, it was because of Hitler that we have VWs, the Volkswagens, okay, and all the car companies.
and the youth loved him.
No, and the youth loved him and everything. But for that one simple thing, he was demon possessed and insane.
Well, see, but Hitler is a perfect example of for any country is at what cost? At what cost? Like the love of the money is the root of all evil. At what cost are you going to have great social activism, or what cost are you going to have economy and great jobs? So Hitler brought about Volkswagen companies, and he had great scientific breakthroughs, and he had the youth loved him, and he made massive amounts of jobs for Germany, and that's why the Germans voted for him, because he decided he wasn't going to take all the elite anymore, and he was on the one that says, in fact, he did the same thing that Mr. Trump did, and I don't want to compare the two, but
How about that?
But-
What's in common?
he took half a salary of what he was supposed to. Because he said, I would prefer the people, and I am going to make Germany so wonderful that people are going to be envious of us. But at what cost? Because he took the land away from the Jews. He imprisoned Austrians. He
He slaughtered eight million people, over 6 million Jews, over 2 million others, over 8 million people he slaughtered. Okay, but fast forwarding, what we see are similarities in Canada as well as the United States. We see similarities to the actions being taken by our government leaders, and what it is there's nothing new under the sun, as it says in Ecclesiastes.
Trump's
nothing
dad,
new under the sun.
Trump's dad,
and look at
Trump's dad, Frederick.
Look at
his dad was a philanthropist, a businessman, a prominent real estate developer in New York. He also worked with all the Jewish people. Trump Jr., Trump, president, okay, small p in my eyes, he went to Jewish schools. He went to Jewish schools growing up. It's all coming together, isn't it? It's all coming together. They have a lot in common. That goes with our
country too.
See, and this is all the similarities and stuff. This is what's going on. The elite have seen how things have worked in the past, and they're like, okay, it worked, but then it didn't. I would wonder if Hitler got out of control from what the elite wanted him to do. I really wonder that. And that it became too much. He became too big.
Yep.
For the elite to control.
For all the pats on the back.
Right? With everything he had going on, with the military power, like the Bismarck was the greatest naval warship, and it was the Germans. It was the Nazis. Okay? It sunk the mighty Hood. England's greatest warship, okay, and it was just firing shells, and it could hit from like 5 miles away. You probably just spotted it, and you're already dead. Like, this was their engineering. Everything was just a fantastic marvel. Why were they not prepared for on the beach of Normandy?
Well, they got cocky.
Okay, he got arrogant, he got cocky, and the elite put him down. But ultimately, let me just stand on this. The scripture says that God appoints all leadership.
Yes.
Okay? So it doesn't matter. So whether you believe in the Illuminati, the elite, whether you don't believe, whatever, okay? God has appointed it. It's like Brother Art. I said to him one day, I said, listen, man, you did not have the Spirit of God in you. You were not born again, and yet your church made you a deacon. And he said, yeah. I said, it goes to show what kind of discernment your church has. But God puts you in that position.
That's right. God does. It don't matter a hill of beans who you vote for. God is going to put who he wants in the White House once again for his plans to come to pass. Period. That's it.
So, either for blessing or judgment.
That's right. You've got two sides, whether it's going to be for blessing or whether it's going to be for judgment.
That's right. And judgment's here. We're going to play that tape soon that Jen gave me.
Yes.
We're going to play
I don't remember if I told you, Jason, but I don't know if I told you, Patricia, maybe I did in Messenger, that I had this kind of sense when I was talking to God, because I've had a lot of sadness when I see what's going on in my country and the God's creation, and because I'm part Indigenous, it really, really hurts me to see them getting hurt, and what we call as Indigenous people Turtle Island, which is just North America. Because it's shaped like a turtle, if you look at it. But I had this talk with God, and I'm like, Lord, this is just like, what are you doing? And he said that America and Canada, they have a lot to atone for in their past and now and what's going on now. And that there is going to be a depression worse than he's ever seen. There's going to be a famine in the land, and there's going to be civil war in the countries, and there's going to be a pestilence that would make the coronavirus look like a cold, and we have to be prepared for that. And he said that God's children will, of course, those who rely on him will be taken care of as they always are. Like, anytime there was a famine in the land in Scripture, God always made sure his people were fed. But, those that don't have that mark upon their forehead, a sister and I were talking about this the other day through Messenger, that those that don't have the mark on their forehead, they're going to have a serious famine, and there's going to be a civil war. And
the mark she's talking about, as you know, probably Patricia, but for others' benefits, the mark is the seal.
Revelation, it's 7:3, sorry.
Yeah, the seal of God.
That's right.
Upon their forehead. Not the mark of the beast.
Not the mark of the beast.
Let's not have anybody be confused about that.
Revelation 7:3. Sister Michelle and I looked it up.
So we go back to what's currently happening, and I think if you guys don't disagree with me on this, after I say a couple things here, I think you should go to that video, Patricia. I believe it was one on the Wet'suwet'en and the coronavirus is the one you were talking about.
That's the one. That's the one. I believe he is a prophet of God. I do believe that. After hearing him several times, he is a prophet of God.
I watched that video and I got that.
A no name.
Prophetic.
A no name, right? A no name.
Yep.
Not a Betty Hen. And why don't Betty Hen go and heal some of them people that are dying of the coronavirus over in China while we're at it?
Because he doesn't have any faith.
A sister in the Lord on Facebook actually made a perfect post the other day.
Wow.
And it made me think. I thought, she said, has any leadership, like presidents, congressmen, prime ministers, premiers, or anybody in China, like the government or anything, has any of the leadership been diagnosed with a case of coronavirus?
Oh, wow.
Think on that?
Like, think about it. Like, has anybody actually been...
So what we've got going on in Canada is we've got a pipeline. Now we're Jen and I being environmentalists. We're not talking about those hippy dippy environmentalists hugging trees, literally holding funerals, crying. Bob, we're not talking. We're talking about being good stewards of the earth that God has given us.
All over me.
But they're trying to run a pipeline through indigenous territory, and there is a group of hereditary chiefs that are opposed to it because it's their land. Now they haven't once said no to the pipeline. They say no to the pipeline through this land. Move it over. Move it over a couple miles, even. Well,
these people have on their land, it's 22,000 square kilometers. I don't know what that is in miles, but it's 22,000 square kilometers is that one little tiny piece of land that they have, that they've had, they say, from time immemorial, but they've had for a long time. They have burial grounds there, and they've found archaeological evidence of them living there, but they have houses on there.
That's 13,670 square miles.
So they have houses on there. They have a healing center on there. The hereditary chiefs actually give honor to God in everything. I've heard their meetings, and they have prayed in Jesus' name. They prayed before the meeting, during their lunch, and the closing prayer, and they prayed in Jesus' name, and they gave honor to God. So they have a healing center there trying to help their people get off of, alcohol and drugs and to learn about their culture sort of thing. And they have houses there, and there's children there, and you can drink out of the river there. It's so clean.
So beautiful.
And they want to put a man camp, which is like a camp where they'll put the workers from out of town 12 kilometers away from people's houses. And they've bulldozed everything, burial grounds and everything already now. So they've been really praying, and so that's who this man is in the video is talking about, is these people that are saying, no, we're the defenders of the land. We're here to steward the land and take care of it. That's right. It was given to us by God to take care of.
Right.
So keeping that in mind, what we have is greedy people, even to the point where where our province's premier has said this is going through. Now, this project is, I believe it's a $4.8 billion project.
It's a $6.6 billion
Oh,
project.
$6.6 billion project.
But I guess it's probably about 4.8 American.
Yeah.
Their money's worth more than ours.
So it's a multi-billion-dollar project. And it turns out that the more things happen, the more we hear about things. All these oil workers' pensions have been invested by a company, have been invested in this project.
As well as the Royal Canadian Mounted Police pension.
As well as the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police's pension, okay? If this project does not go through, all of them lose the pension that they have earned through their respective businesses that they work for, their employers, okay? We've got the government leaders. We've got like many people that can stand to make a lot of money off of this.
Not the local people.
Okay,
At what cost? That's what I keep saying.
And that is the biggest question: is at what cost? Is this? What is a human life worth?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm gonna go to Luke chapter 12. I'll give Sister Patricia a second here because I know she's bringing eSword up.
Oh, I haven't used eSword in like forever.
Right?
I use like Bible Gateway
Get it
most
again.
of the time.
So we're in Luke chapter 12,
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to read 16 through to 21.
Okay, there.
And he spoke a parable. This is Jesus that we're talking about here. And he spoke a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself, and is not rich toward God. Now let me point out that not rich toward God is not talking about money.
Yes.
It is not talking about giving God your money. What is he going to do with it? He created everything. He created us from the dust of the earth, and it didn't cost him a dime.
Come on.
So
right.
What is God going to do with your money? Okay, so we read here, so is he, verse 21, so is he that layeth up treasure for himself. That is talking about money, possessions, etc. Okay, and is not rich toward God. What do you have? What do you have to offer God?
Obedience. Reverence.
Our everything. Our everything.
Mercy.
That's
Mercy.
right.
Okay.
Sacrifice.
Like everything, your very life.
Yes.
Money cannot
Yes.
buy that. Possessions cannot purchase that. None of it
Nothing.
can be bought.
No.
Okay? So what we see here is we see a man who is so enthralled with his possessions. That's what it is. It's not money. It talks about his fruits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It talks about that he brought forth plentifully from the ground. Okay? So this is crops. Corn, wheat, anise, cumin, whatever. It doesn't specify what, but this
he
is
didn't
crops.
give God thanks for giving the increase.
Yeah, there was no thanks to God, no honor to God. This was all honor to myself. Right there, he said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tear down the barns I have, and I'm going to build up greater ones, bigger ones. Okay? Then I will say to my soul, rest, eat, drink, and be merry. Not take care of my fellow man, not have mercy, not love God, not give. You got to realize he's talking to Jews. Okay? He's talking to Israelites here. Not give my 10%. No, God gets nothing of what he has given me.
Come on.
Okay?
That's right. That's
Look
right.
at the rich young ruler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He come to Jesus. Jesus said, sell all that you have
Yes.
and give it to the poor and come follow me.
Yes.
Okay? Sell all that you have. And he went away sad because he had
wouldn't do
much
it. Yes.
possession.
Yes.
Okay? We read in, give me a second here, I got it right here. Luke chapter 16. Let's actually go over there right now. Luke chapter 16.
Mm-hmm.
Actually starting at verse 1.
Okay.
And we're going right down to 13. Okay?
Go ahead.
Luke 16, 1 to 13. And he said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man, which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. Okay? And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. Then the steward said within himself, what should I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig. To beg I am ashamed. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take thy bill, sit down quickly, and write 50. Then said he unto another, how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill, and write 80, which is 80. 1 score is 20, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord commended the unjust steward, because he had done wisely. For the children of this world, note, Jesus is talking about the children of this world, okay, are in their generation wiser than the children of light.
Mm-hmm.
How's that for a warning?
I like that. That's like
And I
right on
say
the
unto
money.
you,
No pun
yep,
intended.
and I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitation. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much, and he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in the much. Okay, I'm going to pause there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
We see there that we're being told to make friends with the mammon of the unrighteousness. So, I have worked at many jobs for very unrighteous people.
Yeah.
Some I would even say as being wicked people.
Yeah, that's where I am right
prospered.
now. No
I
comment.
profited.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I profited off of that. Just like the Israelites in Babylon. Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
okay? They were told, go, live in the land, receive the reward of the land. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 11, if therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? In other words, if you can't take care of somebody else's stuff, why in the name of the Lord do you think he's going to give you anything
Exactly.
to take care of your own?
Exactly.
And verse 13, no servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. Now, for this benefit, I have actually got the definition of mammon.
Come on.
It is commonly thought to mean money, material wealth, or any entity that promises wealth and is associated with the greedy pursuit of gain. So these pipeline, these oil companies, these I don't want to seem like I'm attacking just them, but excuse me, these Fortune 500 companies, these Wall Street. Okay, look at Wall Street. You invest your money, we're going to get it back to you. Promise of gain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? That's trusting in Wall Street. That's trusting in man. That's not trusting in God. Okay? All these things make promises of wealth. But what happens when the wealth dries up? What happens when the stock market crashes? What happens when oil dries up? What happens when the job is no longer there?
Yeah.
All you have is dependent upon mammon, promises of riches, mammon, your possessions, your $400,000+ mortgage, your quads and cars and toys and crap.
Well, every company and every politician, Mr. Trump and Mr. Trudeau and all the premiers and governors and all that stuff, they all say the same thing. We're going to have this boom for something or other, and it'll be 2,000 temporary jobs. So everybody jumps on this, oh, wonderful 2,000 jobs, but 2 years later, they're broke.
2 years later, there's nothing.
But if you listen to the Lord, he gets mad about this, because he says in Jeremiah 2:7-8, if I can read it.
Hold on. Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 7 and 8.
Got it.
Okay.
And I brought you into a plentiful country to eat the fruit thereof and the goodness thereof. And you hear this, Canadians and Americans. God brought you into a plentiful country to eat the fruit thereof and the goodness thereof. But when ye entered, ye defiled my land and made my heritage an abomination. The priest said not, where is the Lord? And they that handle the law knew me not. The pastors also transgressed against me, and the prophets prophesied by Baal and walked after things that do not profit.
So what we see here is we've got a greedy men making promises of money and stepping on whoever they darn well please. You've got Standing Rock. They fought for a long time for the land that they were given.
Oh, and they won and then lost.
And they won, and then Trump comes in, and they're fighting all over again. Okay, you've got the indigenous people up here, and not just the Wet'suwet'en. You've got the Mohawks are fighting too. You know, and all these people fighting just for a portion of land.
There was military in 1990. Here's a history lesson. The American president at the time agreed with the prime minister of the time.
Bush?
I don't know
Senior?
who the president was. I think Brian Mulroney was the prime minister. But in 1990, this place in Quebec called Oka. Quebec is a province. It's the only French province in our country. And they wanted, in this town called Oka, they wanted to extend their golf course right into a Mohawk cemetery where people were buried. That was their cemetery, not just their burial grounds from ancient times, but their actual cemetery. And
golf course.
To extend the golf course. And so they could put in extra snack buildings or something. And the Mohawks said no, and they put a blockade along their property line, like you would put up a no trespassing sign. Mm-hmm. They put up a no trespassing sign, and the Quebec government of the time sent in police with tear gas, and like kind of what they did with the Wet'suwet'en, with sniper rifles and dogs and helicopters, and they threw tear gas in, and there was children there. At this blockade, there were children, and the white people, or the Quebecers at the time, were throwing rocks at the Mohawk. And finally, after 78 days, they sent in the military, like the Canadian military. And the president at the time said, if you need extra men with military, we will send some of our troops up there. Which, thank God, it didn't happen. It was violent enough. And people were stabbed and shot and killed to extend a golf course.
God.
You know, and I just thought, it hasn't changed any. You know, like, you guys care so much. And the only thing is I actually get blocked and called a snowflake and a liberal or a Democrat, which I'm not even American. Yeah. Because I say that Donald Trump is just a man. and he's, you know, and he's a businessman. He didn't become a billionaire by being nice. You know, he's
Hello.
not.
Keep it real, girl.
You know, like, he's been divorced how many times or remarried, and they've taken him for everything. He's gone bankrupt a few times, and he's a billionaire again. He certainly did not become a billionaire by being, you know, a philanthropist and a giver of all things. And, you know, I know God blesses, like he blessed Abraham and stuff, but I can assure you, Donald
Abraham walked with God. Trump ain't walking with
Abraham
God.
walked with God.
He isn't.
And
He isn't repented. He hasn't given away all his stuff. He isn't serving God. He doesn't even say you need to repent. Have you ever heard him preach that?
Nope.
So before we get you to play that video, I just have one thing to say. The word that Jen had received from the Lord, I agree with, I stand on, and I endorse, as it were. I can't think of any better word.
David Wilkerson pretty much said the same
David
thing
Wilkerson had
20
said
years
it.
ago.
Yeah, like
David
20,
Wilkerson
if not
said it
longer.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is that there is going to be a major crash. There's going to be a crisis financially, and God spoke it many, many years ago. Lord Jesus Christ said, "That which you have, even that which you have will be taken away." Okay.
Everything. Did I lose you? Oh, you're still there.
Okay. Well, it is a dream, and eventually, people wake up. Okay. So, keeping that in mind, people need to wake up.
Exactly.
They need to wake up and see what is going on in front of them right now.
They don't want to see it.
Well, they don't listen. We tell them that Revelation 11, is it 11:18 or 18:11? It's 11:18. It's 11:18.
Is it 11:18 or is it 18:11?
Revelation 11:18.
Hold on, let me
I
double check
will
that.
destroy those who destroy the earth.
Let me give you the full verse because I know there's more to it than
The only problem I ever see is I get a lot from a lot of Christians who apparently are defending Donald Trump and what the cops or the RCMP or whatever you want to call them, corporate security guards as far as I'm concerned, what they did to the Wet'suwet'en people. Basically what I've gotten from believers is, you know, God has given us dominion over the earth. They use Genesis a lot. But dominion does not mean destruction. And if you need to hurt and destroy other people and trample on people and animals and land, and, you know, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much money Donald Trump has. God makes water, not you. And if it's poisoned, you're going to die like everybody else.
So Revelation 11:18 tells us.
It is 11:18.
Yep. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldst give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldst destroy them which destroy the earth.
And I think this time is pretty close to coming.
Amen.
I kept reading after you were reading Jeremiah 2, sis. I read down a little more and I posted it. And I wrote, fear the warning of the Lord. And this is for you who's listening. Fear the warning of the Lord. Thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backslidings shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God, and that my fear is not in thee, saith the Lord God of hosts. You best fear him. Stop fearing man.
Right.
Stop fearing governments of this world, and start fearing Yahweh, the God of the Bible.
That's right.
What is that scripture? Is it fearful or a terrible thing to fall into that?
It is a
Into an
fearful
angry God.
thing.
Fearful thing to fall.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think we realize that we are, it seems to me, actually I found this new indigenous preacher that the Seventh-day Adventists apparently don't like. They call him, say he's part of NAR. He's actually passed away now. But apparently Mark Lowry really liked him, and he's a Baptist, so I've got to say something. And he said that he wanted to be red letter Christian. He wanted to look at the red letters of the Bible, and he wanted to figure out, because when he got born again in 1974 during the Jesus movement, stoned on mushrooms. Actually, he was also part of America. I didn't know until recently that America had the residential schools, what you guys called boarding schools. We called residential schools, where the indigenous were. Unfortunately, churches like the United, Anglican, and the Catholic churches were part of those schools, where there was a lot of sexual and physical and emotional abuse. But he was raised in Catholic church, and his idea of Christianity was not, it was pretty skewed for a Lakota guy. Reservations had Catholic school or churches and whatever on there, Methodist, I think he said, or Mennonite or something. But he said he was in Hawaii on mushrooms with hippies. He'd say something really, really, Indian, and the hippies would go, "Wow, dude, that's so deep."
Yeah, something so Indian sounding, but it was nonsense.
But man. He was saying he thought he was going to die. His heart was racing and everything like that, and he had said he had tried the Buddhist prayers because, back in the 70s, hippies were into Eastern mysticism. Not that, Christians aren't into Eastern mysticism now.
Ouch.
But
he
tried the Catholic Hail Marys. He tried the Indian prayers. He tried the Lakota prayers, and stuff. And he apparently, when he was going to this beach in Maui, he got hitchhiking by these people that were telling him crazy things about Jesus, and he thought, you guys are all a bunch of white boy crazy Bible freaks. I don't want to listen to that. But he thought about what they had said on that beach, and he got born again because he asked Jesus, if you're real, save me from this. And they did. So he
instantly sober.
When he went back to the rest of his city, I think it was Oregon or somewhere in Oregon, he went to church. He had never been to a church or anything, and he went to church. He went to a hippie church, and he went to other church companies. He said